There was the Oxford student Iona Wells, who was attacked and almost raped in London. She threw off the mantle of anonymity and expressed a public refusal to be silenced and ashamed for being on the receiving end of a sexual assault. There are the incredible women from minority communities, like the Southall Black Sisters and members of the Iranian and Kurdish women's rights organisation, who challenged discriminatory asylum and immigration policies, as well as cultural practices like female genital mutilation, forced marriage, and honour killing, which are violations of human rights. Or the fabulous women in the Glasgow Disability Alliance, who have unveiled the extent to which women with disabilities are exposed to disproportionate sexual abuse and domestic violence. There's Laura Bates' brilliantly inventive Everyday Sexism project, which provides a space for sharing the ways in which offensive remarks and conduct are a persistent feature of women's lives and are normalised. There has been the launch of the Women's Equality Party and the creation of the Centre for Women's Justice by the tireless Solicitor for Women, Harriet Wistridge. There are the students in universities who are demanding a change in the culture of entitlement they feel is enjoyed by young men. There is the growing clamour of voices in television and sport, demanding that the salaries of men are published so that women doing the same jobs can see if they are getting equal pay. It was in 2012, when the deceased celebrity entertainer Jimmy Savile was exposed as a paedophile and gross abuser of women and children, that we seemed to be reaching a tipping point. As more cases emerged, suddenly the institutions, from the BBC to Parliament, from hospitals and schools to young offenders institutions, from local authorities to universities and churches, all of which had colluded in keeping the lid on such crimes, were in retreat. Every one of these pillars of rectitude had put institutional reputation ahead of safeguarding women and children. The outrage was so deeply felt, and the torrent of memories, anger, and sorrow so great, that a public debate raged, of a kind that has never taken place before. A public inquiry was set up by the then Home Secretary, Theresa May, in recognition of the extent of the problem. I kept hearing the same questions. How could so many predators have got away with it? Why did people do nothing? Was it because things were different then? Now it was as though people had been waiting for permission to talk about their experiences, and a flood of historic abuse and discrimination was laid bare. I thought then that maybe we were turning a corner. The scandals of Rotherham, Rochdale, Oxford, Manchester, Newcastle, and other cities were revealed, where girls, some as young as 13 and 14, were groomed and used for sex by gangs of men, largely from ethnic minorities. The girls were white, and usually from disadvantaged backgrounds, often in care homes. They were staying out late, easily preyed upon in the nighttime world of takeaway joints and minicabs, plied with drink and drugs, given gifts of money and trinkets. They would be raped or coerced into sexual activity by men sometimes old enough to be their fathers. Yet they were treated by the authorities as girls making a lifestyle choice, and the men avoided prosecution because the police did not think the girls or their families were credible witnesses. Again, the question was asked, how could this have gone on without police action or intervention by social services? There were attempts to suggest this was culturally specific, as though it is only men from certain cultures who commit such crimes, when in fact these particular manifestations are just further examples of how pass-around girls are a common feature of male gang networks. Many young Asian girls, like young white girls, suffer sexual abuse, and as we know, it is most commonly at the hands of people from their own family or community. A culture of impunity means serial abuse of women and girls has gone uninvestigated and unpunished for all of my professional life. There is nothing racially or religiously inherent in male abuse. Yes, the police and social services were anxious in these cases not to be accused of racist conduct by pursuing Pakistanis or other ethnic minority men. The tabloids bleated about political correctness being the root cause of this systemic failure to pursue the offenders. And no doubt the police's past record of discrimination towards minority communities means they are now being trained not to repeat history. But these cases are not just about sensitivity to potential allegations of racism or worries about feeding racial bigotry. Lord Ken MacDonald, Queen's Counsel, the former Director of Public Prosecutions, described the male offenders as the ones who were racist, because their victims were white girls.